Aloha, I'm Lyla Berg. Mahalo for tuning in to Island Focus. We're here at the Honolulu Museum of Art to meet people who promote art as an important aspect of shaping our society. Thank you for joining us on Island Focus. So as programs director, this is a place where people gather.
Most definitely. You know, the museum is such a beautiful space. We're doing different things to activate the museum. You can come and do some art making with your family. Also, on a Friday evening, we'll have music in the cafe. We have lovely local musicians performing every Friday. On a Saturday, you can come and enjoy a movie on the lawn where we have family-friendly movies picked out. You can also come and enjoy your dinner on the lawn with picnic baskets and a lahaula mat.
So the museum is really very accessible to all of us.
It is. There's so many different things that people can do here now. You can just come in and just go shopping, or you can go visit our cafe and have a drink or poo-poo, catch a movie, participate in one of our trivia nights. So there really is a lot more to the museum than just our wonderful collection, of course.
Well, we'll have to come back.
Yes, please do.
It's so good of you, Sandy, to take a little time to be with us today, and particularly here. You know, as the founder of the Downtown Arts Center, this place is important to you as well.
Yes. So I remember being a child, coming here on a school bus and visiting. I think we even ate lunch in this garden. So I love it. This was such a memorable experience. I even remember it today, 70 years later.
And as the founder of the Downtown Arts Center, you've created a pretty magical place there for artists.
Well, thank you for saying that. We're really proud to show all kinds of art. We show as many different genres of art as possible. We show beginners as well as very established artists. It's kind of like a very fun place to come and look at art, talk stories with artists. So what I like about the place is two people, strangers, walk in and they meet at a painting and they start talking about the art, what it means to them, how they feel about it. It's really kind of very magical. They make friends there. They actually make friends and go out to lunch afterwards. Kind of cool.
So speak a little bit more about the role that art plays in life, because your husband, Louis, was an artist.
Right, right.
And in his memory and for how he lived his life, art is really significant for you.
It was very significant for him. And when living with him, he taught me that art is really important to people's lives. They get healed by it. They grow as a person. They find out who they are because they're exploring themselves and expressing themselves through the art, whatever media they use. And not every media is the right media for each person. Some people excel at pottery, some with watercolor. Me, I can't do anything. I'm not an artist per se. I kind of like dabbling and doodling, but give me a piece of paper and I can just sit there for an hour and just look at it.
Well, and I'm going to ask you to reframe that you're not an artist, because you've created a place where other people who are artists, let's say, who practice their skill, can share. And if art is creativity, as you've often said,
Right.
The Downtown Arts Center really allows people to show who they are.
I think the very bravest people in the world are artists. They actually, artists who actually show their work, because they're actually bearing their soul. They're allowing people to get into their mindset and feel and see how they're thinking, they're brave. I could never do that.
So you started this downtown arts center on New Ōahu Avenue.
Right.
What are some of the challenges that you're finding, even still now, attracting people to come in, besides the artists, but also encouraging people to come in and enjoy?
We have no advertising budget. We're just ordinary people. Art is for everybody. It's not for the elite. It's not for those special people that have little talent. It's for everybody to explore and just kind of find themselves. I think that was the most important thing about, for me, the arts. I can't draw, okay? I'm not an artist. I was really terrible when I took classes.
A drawing is graphic arts.
Mm.
Are you a dancer?
No.
Or a singer or a
No,
pianist?
worst singer ever. No. But what I found was through the art, just kind of playing with it and talking stories and being around people that are artists, I found who I was. I found what I love to do. You know, and I feel really grateful for all the time that I've spent doing this. You know, before this, I was a social worker. You know, I help people solve their problems, find who they are. But this time, I found out who I was, what I was good at. So my thing is to bring ideas about the arts and people together so that we can create fun activities that people will enjoy and be social. Yeah, it's really important.
So your gift, your talent, your art is bringing people together to share who they are with each other.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being there and for the courage you have to express your art.
Thank you for noticing that.
You've just had the opportunity to meet Sandy Pohl, founder and executive director of the Downtown Arts Center. We're sitting in a very joyful place. Fiber graffiti artists. Who knew?
It's wonderful, isn't it?
And it's part of the Joyful Return initiative, I guess, of the museum.
Yeah, the museum's reopening, yes.
Same is true for the art school.
Yeah, reopening and reinventing, yes.
And what does that mean?
Well, we've been closed for 2 years, and so we are opening with a new mission and a new focus.
And what would that look like to the public?
Well, for the first time, we're going to have some full-time teachers for different disciplines in the school. And we're really looking at kind of bringing together the museum and the school into a unified entity.
Well, it would make total sense, right? If in the art school classes, they refer to the resources that are at the museum.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're looking at building curriculum that really uses the museum's vast and beautiful collection in our teaching.
And what do you envision will be the outcome of this?
Wow, that's a great question. I think it'll be a richer experience. I think that will reach a broader audience, different kinds of students, and really get them thinking about and talking about art and really becoming familiar with the amazing resource we have here at the museum.
And I would think as well, it will encourage art teachers to come forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're doing some great work in kind of reaching out to all kinds of teachers and, engaging them in all kinds of art making and kind of pedagogical approaches to looking at and talking about art with their students. We're starting September 1st and registration happens in mid-July. So I'm looking really forward to seeing the school alive with students.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mahalo for being with us today, Aaron. It's such a privilege to meet you. You wear so many hats as an artist. And
We all do. We all do.
please tell us about the festival and
Yes.
your view also on the role that art plays in society.
Right. So thank you. The Festival of Pacific Arts and Culture, Hawaii is hosting for the first time in June of 2024, and lots of preparation happening right now. The festival itself has an incredible genealogy. It started in 1972, and the goal of it was to assure the nurturing and the maintenance of traditional cultural practice. Hawaii wasn't invited in 1972. We were seen as not South Pacific enough, and relations to America, whereas everyone else is really primarily working as their own nation at the table. We got our first invite in 1976, and we've been a part of the festival ever since. It travels throughout the Pacific, Micronesia, Melanesia, Polynesia every 4 years, and really welcomes about 4,000 delegates from 28 countries across the Pacific coming together, sharing their own sort of individual cultural practices, but also then rekindling this sense of unity right across the ocean, in our Sea of Islands, really.
And connectivity,
Right, absolutely.
not just genetically,
Right.
but also from a perspective of Indigenous people looking at the world in a different way. Tell me a little bit more about.
Yeah, Epeli Hau'ofa is a Tongan Fijian scholar who wrote in the 90s about reframing the Pacific, because we had started to see ourselves as really distant from each other. And he challenged us to rethink about the connection of the Pacific region through the ocean, that the ocean was a highway and a byway rather than a separator. And I think what that did was reframing and relensing of how we see ourselves in the Pacific Islands. Native Hawaiians looking at Maori from Rapa Nui and New Zealand, looking at Vanuatu and Fiji and Guahan and the Marianas. And I think there is just this familial genealogical connection that the festival helps to really re-enliven and help us to realize that the connection, right? Us amongst each other.
You speak about artists coming together.
Right.
What about those of us who are not believing that we're artists in life?
Well, ultimately, I don't know that I agree that there are people who are not artists. Ultimately, we are all artists in particular ways. And, I certainly see my role as, I'm a classically trained pianist, a classically trained vocalist who came back to Hawaiian music not until graduate school, really, But I find that in this evolution of humanity, the kinds of things we really enjoy doing, right? If you enjoy doing what you're doing, you're not working. That is art. Doing the things that that your soul is drawn to. That is artistic work. The best science project, the most keen business contract. Those are artistic pieces that should be really elevated as such, because it takes a soul to engage with the manifestation of whatever thinking that leads to said manifestation, right? So we're all artists.
It's so beautifully said. And
Sure.
the reality of life,
Right.
especially for many of our young people, is they need to get a job, or
Yeah.
they think they need
Yeah.
to get a job.
Yeah.
How would one integrate,
Yeah.
that the soul and the passion of living with their work?
I grew up in a household with my grandparents, my maternal grandparents, and grandma was always telling me, go work for the federal government. You go be a mailman, or go be a fireman, or and none of these things really resonated with me. Of course, she's telling me this before the advent of email. And so, even that world is so different, but I was so drawn to music, even as a very, very young child. I spent a few years of my youth living, on my father's family land in American Samoa. And at that time, you would go to church or have an evening service in your home, and the family would just pull these sounds out of the air. And these sounds would become these beautiful choruses of harmonies of 6 and 8 and 9 parts. The work for us really is assuring that our souls are involved in the things that we do, so that we are led on the journey and on the path of life to the work that we're supposed to be doing in the contribution of this life to the universe.
And as your art
Yeah.
and as this place demonstrates, it's
Right.
constantly evolving and
Absolutely.
unfolding. Closing thought for our audience.
One of the most important things I think about this festival is that once we are exercising our ability to share and showcase our individuality in the world as delegations from Hawaii and Tahiti, etc. But the power of the festival really lies in two things. One, the ability of the host to host, that we remind ourselves as Pacific Islanders that we have this kuleana, this real responsibility to assure that we are consummate hosts to ourselves and to each other. And two, the bringing together of all these individual ideas into a unified worldview, really, as a Pacific region. And then looking at what the Pacific region then plays in the world.
And Hawaii will be home to that in 2024.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Aloha.
Aloha. Thank you for listening to my conversation with Aaron Salā, Director of the Festival of the Pacific Arts and Culture. So we're sitting in the cafe that's very familiar to me.
Yes, welcome back. I know we had you here
Thank
a
you.
couple weeks ago or so. Yeah, so for first-time viewers, the cafe has been here for over 50 years in the museum. We serve island-inspired cuisine with a focus on Pacific Mediterranean food and try to always carry local and organic whenever possible.
So local means,
Well, we try to procure as many ingredients as we can that are sourced locally, including like all of our salad greens or white Pohl greens from Maui. We source ha'ula tomatoes. Our fish as well, we get from local fisheries out here in Hawaii, because we are also members of like the Ocean Friendly Restaurant Program through the Surfrider Foundation and also the Hawaii Agriculture Foundation. So these are organizations that are kind of helping to promote businesses that are trying to stay green and sustainable and utilize local when possible. And that falls right in line with what we're about as well.
well, it's wonderful to hear because in addition to being a comfortable and safe place, it's delicious.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the space itself is open air, so it's been a really nice place for people to come during the pandemic era. It feels really open and spacious and breezy. Yeah, the food is very fitting. It's mostly salads and sandwiches, but we also have like a pasta of the day and a few entrees, including steak and salmon. So we kind of can hit all the marks. On Sunday, we do a really nice brunch. So a lot of breakfast items available then. And then on the nighttime, on Friday and Saturday, we have our Homa Nights where we have live music and entertainment in the cafe and a special evening menu as well and a full bar set up.
Fun.
Yes, it's a great place to come day or night.
Thank you for being with us today. You know, your voice as an artist is so important, and you have an architect degree as well. So how does that intersect?
Oh, Lyla, first of all, thank you so much. It's so nice to be here with you. Architecture, it permeates everything. I really feel that design and the approach to design through architecture contributes to our community, contributes to the development of our environment in very special ways.
As an artist, how did you get started?
It was in my undergraduate studies at Princeton where, you know, my pursuits that I had originally intended didn't quite go the way I expected. So I switched majors and I found architecture through a lecture that I happened to be taking. And I really found myself drawn to architecture and drawn to design.
So what I hear you saying as an artist is to be prepared for the unexpected.
Absolutely, yes. You have to be flexible, you have to be nimble, and you have to be able to listen to your na'au, I would say, and let it guide you a little bit.
Well, and the foundation that you had educationally also enables you to be in this place and perpetuating the mission of this place. You know, the architecture of this museum is historic.
Historic.
And the contemporary nature of it, though, is present.
I think that's the beauty of museums is that they are a historical record of past life, past times, but they also are extremely important for the relevancy of life today. And it's important that we continue to put forth exhibitions and educational programs together that serve in our diverse community, especially here in Hawai'i.
So speak to us a little bit about art education and the importance, because this place also has an art school,
Absolutely.
programs for the community, and the message really has been, this is a place of the people.
It is, yes. And I think, one of the greatest responsibilities for the museum is to serve our community through art and education, and aligning the programs and the curriculum of the art school with the museum and the exhibitions and the collections is something that is being pursued intimately right now. And our new director, Halona Norton Westbrook, is doing a really wonderful job to bring all of the staff together and, contributing to the creation of those alignments.
The mission of the museum to be part of the community is not necessarily a traditional view of mission of museums.
Well, I think historically, Anna Rice Cook has really established a foundation for that. It being the Honolulu Academy of Arts, at its inception, and introducing, arts from all around the world, to our special place here, Hawai'i. But it's also, I think, important that the museum continue that mission, but also contribute and create opportunities for artists, contemporary artists, to practice and to comment on life and the place in which we live now.
And what you're speaking about actually is a vision for the museum in terms of encouraging different forms of art in people.
Art can span a great number of different materials, media, different forms. It's critical to have a staff and a museum that's responsive to that.
So it must be very exciting for you as an artist, as an architect as well, working in the community.
Well, not really an architect. Never
working
practiced.
with the architecture
Yes.
field.
Yeah.
To be part of this endeavor.
I thank the Lord that I have this opportunity to work together with the museum. I think, as this organization and this institution opens up and reaches out and expands into communities that we have not yet been able to touch, that's the exciting part for me, and to make this place more welcoming for communities that haven't had that opportunity to engage with the artwork here or our programs at the school.
And as I've heard you say often, that art is life, and for life to be worthwhile, we need to pursue our own form of art. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Lyla. Really appreciate it.
We've just had the pleasure of speaking with Ka'ili Chan, HOMA trustee. Mahalo for tuning into Island Focus. I'm Lyla Berg. On behalf of the Island Focus crew and the entire team at Ōlelo Community Media, aloha and malama pono. See you soon.